Duck TV has the pleasure of being with my wonderful friend Donald RHEUBOTTOM, and we are off of West Franklin and Monroe Street. Monroe Street Bridge is right behind Donald, and Kwasi Mfume had recently done a press conference talking about how he wanted to take the road to nowhere, the old bridge to nowhere, and put a park in. And I don't really think that's going to help the community out. So Donald's been kind enough to come out and share his thoughts on what he thinks might be a good fit for this community. So Donald, we had a little bit of a conversation before. I said possibly a resource center along with a boys club. And what did you think about that?
I think, first of all, I never thought about what should be built here to replace the bridge to nowhere, first of all, right? Secondly, if I'm thinking like most of the people are thinking in this community, this is probably one of the last places that they're thinking about right now because of the economy issues, gas prices, the violence in the community, and a host of other things that people got to go through on a day-to-day basis. So even though this is the bridge to nowhere and it's been converted basically to a parking lot right now, I think it's the last thing on people's minds in the community. I think if there was to be some investment in the community for the betterment of the community, I think that it should be something that's geared towards fathers. You know, fathers are the forgotten soul, especially in the black community, and it is a vital part of the nuclear family that has been missing for quite a few decades now. When we see all these young people running around involved in crime, getting in trouble, getting killed, you know, a lot of this has to do with the nuclear family and the lack thereof one in the black community. So I think if you want to talk about an investment, one of the investments that we probably need to take a real hard look at is reinvesting into fathers into these communities. Because right now what we have emotional men, right, who are raised by single women. And this is not to degrade or throw shade at women for having to do a job that some of them have to do by themselves because it's a tough job. But I can tell you this, I am a victim of those circumstances, and I was blessed to have a mother who taught me values. And because she taught me values, I was able to break away from that cycle, and I raised a nuclear family, right, as a result of that. But one of the problems, if people don't quite understand what I'm talking about, is when you have a woman raise a young man, that young man, while he's being raised by that woman, he picks up her emotional tendencies. And when he picks up those emotional tendencies, as he grows older, those become part of his dominant genes. Whereas if a man was in the household, a man would be there to teach that young man temperament. In other words, when I didn't want to do something, there was a man that said, you're going to sit here and you're going to sit here until you get this right. I didn't have that in my life. A lot of these young people, especially the men, they don't have this in their life. You know, when I was 16 years old, I could do what I wanted to do. My mother, if I wanted to go out here and be bad, she couldn't stop me. But her value system was so strong, right? It precluded me from being that way. I graduated from Carver High School, just about 3 miles away from here. I was the first one in my immediate family to graduate out of high school. I've since put my kids through college. But my whole point is, when you talk about the community, when you talk about rebuilding, when you talk about investing, we cannot invest in the community and it's going to be successful until we deal with the fathers being reinstated back into the family. Because this is what happens. And I'm going to pause for the car.
That's okay.
This is what happens in the communities. You have a grand opening, and then you end up having a grand closing. Now, why is that? That's because when people come in and they try to invest, right? Once they invest, you have vandalism, you have theft, you have crime. The people in the community don't want to patronize the businesses. The businesses can't survive because of the thefts, the robberies, and every other thing. So then they end up closing, packing up, going elsewhere. You know, this is a food desert, this community. There is no legitimate shopping centers or places to get healthy food anywhere in this area. That's because of the crime in the community. And part of the reason for the crime in the community is you got a lot of young people out here who have no discipline, who have not been given those character traits, those temperament character traits to go to complement those emotional character traits. So that's one of the things that I think that we got to work on.
Okay, well, I agree with everything you're saying. And I think that what I shared at the very beginning is that a resource center could help out with some of that and beyond that too. I think we go beyond that, but I think that it could have a focus on what you're talking about. And I think that the boys club could actually help out the fathers moving in a direction, because, you know, when they talk about Baltimore City students and they're failing, and I hear people saying, where are the parents? They're not doing this, they're not doing that. Well, guess what? They're a product of the same schools. They don't, more than likely, there's a lot of them that don't know how to read and write as well. So if they didn't get the education, how are they going to help their kids out with that? We're talking about generational. We're talking about generational failure on the government's behalf of actually providing the services that the taxpayers are paying through the nose for, that aren't getting it. Because I said in a Pat McDonough interview that I'm not a school teacher, but I guarantee you in 12 years, I can teach less than 12 years, but with the ability to have 12 years, I can teach somebody how to read and write and do arithmetic. I've never gone to school for teaching or anything, but I guarantee you I can teach somebody how to read, write, and do arithmetic. So that's a total failure there. So I'm agreeing with you, Donald, and this is just one particular thought on my behalf about what might be good for the community. But I came out tonight to hear from someone from the community. You are from the community. You know the community. You're out here talking to people. You do a great job with all your videos too. And please tell what your site is now. So you share a lot of different videos out there. The people need to go and hear what you have to say on a frequent basis about the problems in Baltimore City and how to change, how to turn that around.
Well, let me just elaborate on.
Well, but before you do, please give your site.
Okay, I don't have a site, but you can find me on Facebook, right? Donald RHEUBOTTOM on Facebook. My page is open to anybody who wants to view it. You don't have to be a friend to look at it. But getting back to what
a lot of very valuable information's on that site.
Thank you, Scott. And let me just extend on what you were just saying. And also I want to thank you for taking the time for doing this interview and just taking interest in this situation up here. I really appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. I've tried to do so much more. The only problem is, and you may have run into this yourself, is the political figures that are out there. When a person is actually trying to make a difference, they want to undermine you. They don't want to help you out unless you're a cheerleader for them. They're not interested. They're going to pull the carpet out from under you. I've been trying to do things for a long time. We have a mutual friend, I won't mention whose name that was, big time problem in their community with drug dealing. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. I have never seen something so bad in my life. I actually sent this to Governor Hogan's office, and I tried to get him to act upon it. I was having a good dialogue with Governor Hogan at that point in time, but it absolutely went nowhere. And that problem from that time period has gotten even worse. And it was almost a 24-hour-a-day operation outside this woman's house that has grandkids, that was very concerned about the safety of her grandchildren, her own safety, and her neighbor's safety. So, and I'm sorry I took that moment there, but it was very important information, I feel. So, Donald, please continue.
Yeah, I just want to elaborate on what you said about the boys clubs and other recreation center type programs.
Resource center.
Right, resource center. We've had several of these type of programs, all over basically the country and inner cities, just like Baltimore. And the one thing that we seem to still get away from, or we fail to realize, is if you start a boys club, the boys are going to go to the club, and they're going to be, in most boys clubs, they're affiliated with the police department, for example, right? Those officers are going to be the ones that are taking interest, along with other people in the community, of helping these young men and teaching them certain things. My problem with that is not the actual act that they're doing, because the gesture is a good gesture, but it still goes back to the same problem that exists today. The nuclear family, the father, they would be filling in as fathers. The things that they're doing with these young men at the boys clubs are the things that fathers should be doing.
Okay.
The things
okay.
That,
well, if we made real quick, if we made it a priority, what you're talking about there, and I went to a wonderful, and I'm not going to mention where it was or anything, but I went to a wonderful Salvation Army camp when I was a kid. We did all kinds of stuff there. Actually, in the wintertime, I never went as a camper during the summer, but we went up when when it was closed down. I worked on some of the buildings. I was 12 years old. They had a firing range. We shot pistols, guns, all kinds of stuff. We sled ride around there. There was horses there. There was buildings there. We had a great time. We swam in the pool. So if we make that a family resource, the families can come and do things, and the boys can go camping and learn how to tie knots, and how to pitch a tent, all that kind of stuff, how to do survival for themselves. That's what I'm talking about. I think I'm not trying to just narrow it down to something small. What you're talking about, there would be resource. So
what
there's
I'm talking
resources.
about is huge. What I'm talking about is huge, because what I'm trying to convey to you is all of those things that you're speaking about, they are great things, but you're still missing that one important nucleus, and that is the father being reintroduced back into the family, because it is vital. Right.
Well, if they're running it, if it's they have the Boys Club of America, I believe it is, and so if you have a boys club and the fathers come and they're taking charge of this, let's say
but it's beyond, Scott. It's beyond them coming to a boys club and taking charge. It's beyond that. It's beyond. It's about reintroducing a lot of there are a lot of men out here who really don't know how to be men, because they were never taught how to be men.
Okay, and then the resource center, they can help.
Listen to me for a minute. There are a lot of, because I'm giving you a perspective from the communities, right? There are a lot of men out here who are emotional men, and it's not easy to transition from being emotional, right, to developing temperament. And we need, if you want to talk about programs, we need programs that deal with psychological issues when it comes to reintroducing this man back into the family. Me, myself, I am a strong man. I have no oppressor. I have no overseer. Because if I believe I have an overseer, then I don't believe that I'm my own full-fledged man. So I don't have that problem. But there are many men out here who do. And this is where the focus needs to be. You got to take care of the father, so the father can take care of the child. Not take care of the child and tell the father, come on, let me show you, this is how I'm doing it. The father's not learning like that, because we need to get into dealing with his issues. Okay. And when you deal with his issues, then you can start getting control on the crime in the community, because he knows how to love and discipline his children as a family. And this is so important, and so many people missed it. So many dollars are spent on so many projects, right, to basically window dress what the real problems are, and it never gets done. Because you know what's going to happen? There'll be a project put here to put a park here, and the people will come in, they'll make money, they'll get paid to put it in here, right? And then once they get the park put in here, right, it'll all of a sudden become a haven for doing drugs, selling drugs, and all kinds of other stuff, because you still have that temperament within the community. And until we deal with that temperament issue, it's going to always be a grand opening, and it's always going to be a grand closing.
Yes. Well, I think that the kids need to have some of the counseling too, because they have problems with it. They have problems with it.
I don't think but the kids need more guidance than they do counseling, because because you got to remember, those are young minds, and with young minds, they need to be taught. They need learned behavior. The learned behavior they're getting now is like you hear in the background, the dirt bikes riding up and down the street. When they see the other kids on dirt bikes, they want to get on a dirt bike. They don't care nothing about a driver's license. They don't know anything about insurance. They don't know anything about wearing a helmet for safety. They don't know anything about a lot of the basic things that they should know about riding a bike. And these are the undisciplined things that occur in our communities, right? And they think it's okay, and it's not okay. But if they've always been taught, and that's the learned behavior, then that's what you're going to get.
And there's no accountability.
That's exactly correct.
Yes. I think that what you're talking about, which has been an ongoing conversation for you and I. We've been talking about this for years. You've been stressing that for years. So, like I said, your videos are absolutely amazing. I watched one of Donald's videos, and he was walking through a neighborhood years ago, and we've been friends, I guess, for about 10 years now. And you were walking through a neighborhood and saying, when I was a kid, this was a vacant community too, and we need to do something. And you were upset about it. You were making very good points. And I said, I need to know who this guy is. I want to talk to him. And here we're talking 10 years later. We both care about Baltimore. Baltimore is...
We love our city.
We do. But there's so much wrong with it, and it is scary. The majority of the people I know would never be down where I'm at right now with you. They just wouldn't do it. So, I know that I'm with you. I know that I'm safe. You're going to make sure I'm okay. I know that. So, but there's a lot of concerns here. People just don't want to come to Baltimore City, and a lot of people that lived in Baltimore City are moving the hell out. They don't want to be here.
And you can't blame them, because it's a sad commentary. We have a beautiful city, a wonderful city,
rich history.
So many people are just misguided, and they're caught up in into the politics. One of the things that I want to start down the road, I want to start a literacy program for politics. In other words, right? I want to teach people about political language, so to speak. For example, just an example of what I'm talking about. When you hear a politician could be talking to a group of people, right? And that politician will say to that group of people, and let's say it was a black politician, for example, talking to a black audience. And that politician says, I'm fighting for you and voter rights, right? Well, subliminally, some people would think that, he's going to fight for our voter rights. Excuse me, but you already have voter rights. He's not talking about you. There are a lot of things that people don't understand about politics. They don't understand that when you talk about a Democrat, you could be talking about three versions of a Democrat. You could be talking about a conservative Democrat. You could be talking about a liberal Democrat. You could be talking about a progressive Democrat. And it's the same thing with Republicans. You have to understand the type of people who are in front of you. You have to understand the type of government that's running the country or the local jurisdiction. And a lot of people don't understand that. So we have to do a better job of understanding politicians and how they affect us. Because at one time, politicians They used to affect us indirectly. Now politicians affect you directly. You know, so that's something that I like to look at and get into down the road. But we got a lot of work to do to save our communities.
Well, I have a perfect example of what you're talking about. I watched Kamala Harris's
Speak
speech.
up for me, please. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm messing with you.
I watched Kamala Harris's speech the other day at the convention, and she kept saying, "We're not going back." And I spoke to a friend of mine who's, you know, on top of the political game. He knows all about it. And I was saying that, you know, she was saying that, and I said, you know, it was very concerning. And the people that don't know politics, they were going to believe a lot of what was being said, even though a lot of it was lies. But not going back. This person thought that they were saying, well, we're not going back to Donald Trump. That may have been a small part of it, but saying that we're not going back is to continue what has been going on with the transgender programs, with the critical race theory, all of these things, letting the kids get away with, oh, you're not going to be arrested for $900, you know, looting stuff for $900, anything, you know, less than $900, all these type things. They don't want to go back.
A lot of that, Scott, I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish with your thought.
Defunding the police, defunding the police.
A lot of that goes back to lack of fathers in the household.
Yes. But to make the point, and I'm agreeing with you right there, that's one for instance. And somebody, you know, and we all get a little bit of help from each other and everything politically, and these kinds of discussions help all that out. So, but this person, and they could be right, that could have been a part of what they were saying, and you know, there may be a percentage of people that believe that, but really, they're not going to change. They're moving forward with all their stuff, moving towards a communist country. That's what they're talking about. They're going towards communism.
Well, I'm gonna just say I'll end it with this. Right now, what we have is the media is not as crystal clear as they should be when it comes to facts and news, right? Everybody seems to have an agenda. I think what is a huge concern that should be on everybody's part, that everyone should be in agreement with, is because of AI. AI is really technologically sound now, where they can show you something and it looks just like the image, it sounds just like the image, and you will bet your bottom dollar, as far as your mindset, it is the image, and it's actually not the image. I think that people need to be talking about putting a warning sticker on AI, just like you did cigarettes. If it's not real, people should have a right to know that it's not real and it's been altered or fabricated or whatever the case may be. I think there should be a serious conversation about that, because now the truth is a lie and a lie is the truth, and we can't succeed in a society like that.
Yeah, well, what we're dealing with is a manufactured media. It's all scripted out. I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of what they're talking about on the cable programs isn't coming from Hollywood. Some Hollywood persons writing it because they all talk about the same
part
thing.
Of it is not wrong, because this is where, and this goes back to
propaganda.
This goes back to that political illiteracy. Some people don't know when they're watching there are shows that are classified as sports, there's shows that are classified as news, and then there are shows that's classified as entertainment. They make some entertainment shows look like an official news program. Yes. They make some sports, right, look like entertainment, and some entertainment is actually sports. Like, for example, Major League Baseball is classified as a sport. The NFL is actually classified as entertainment. A lot of people don't know that, but people need to know what it is they're watching, because depending on what you're watching, if you're watching the news, you have to give the straight news by law. But if you're watching an entertainment channel posing as a news channel, right? They can say anything they pretty much want to say. And a lot of people don't know that.
Well, I'd like to thank you for all that you do in the community to make it better, Donald. I'd like to thank you for putting out all the videos you do. I hope people go to your site, Donald RHEUBOTTOM on Facebook.
Yep.
And thank you very much for doing this
Scott,
interview.
thank you for coming in the community and sharing the wealth, man. I appreciate you, brother.
You know, we're doing all we can all the time.
Yep.